Hi folks, welcome to this brief online learning module on strategic planning and needs assessment in distance education. My name is Jackson Ivan Isiko. I'm an IP&T student and I'll be leading you through this brief discussion. So why strategy for distance education? Instructional designers should not only know about learning theories, but should also know the best strategies that should be used to implement successful long-distance education programs in organizations of all shapes and sizes. In this presentation, I'll guide you through some of the ways to select distance education programs and solutions that meet organizational goals, missions, and visions as suggested by Michael Moore. I guess the reason for this is that every professional needs a good strategy to be successful. So instructional designers are of no exception. For example, a good politician needs a good strategy to be successful. A good businessman needs a good strategy to be successful. And so it is for instructional designers. I like this quote here by Michael Moore. Quote, "For distance education, globalization and technological improvements have increased the requirement for effective strategic planning and decision making. At their best, strategic plans serve their organizations by providing guidance on how the institution can be proactive, responsive, as well as adaptive." So I guess the gist of this quote here is that in order for distance education programs to be successful, they need to factor in global aspects and technological aspects. For example, a company like Toyota has global presence in Africa, South America, North America, Asia, and Europe. How do they deliver standardized trainings in ways that meet each of their learning needs in all of those areas that they have operations? The answer lies in a good strategy. They have to come up with a good strategy that, one, considers all these global aspects and dynamics, and two, leverages technological affordances like the internet and Web 2.0 to come up with an effective education program for their remote areas. For example, they could partner up with local institutions to deliver instructions. They could use online learning modules. They could use satellite programs or institutions to deliver the education that is needed. So this definition here kind of sheds light on the kind of approach that should be taken in guiding instructional designers. So I have this analogy here of a train. Um, a train can successfully travel from point A to point B if it's aligned to its tracks. If a train is misaligned, there will be undesired consequences. Likewise, departmental missions, programs, and goals should be aligned to organizational goals. If those departmental goals, missions, and visions are not aligned to organizational goals, there will be some sort of misalignment. Therefore, as instructional designers, ensure that your instructional designs within your departments are aligned to organizational goals and objectives. Set goals that are meaningful, measurable, and use tools that help you measure your success. For example, tools like a balanced scorecard could be a good tool in measuring organizational success when it comes to um, distance education programs. So I spoke of misalignment. It could lead to undesired results. Luckily for us, it's not so much of an issue of life and death. However, this should shed some light on some of the undesired consequences of having poor training programs selected or using the wrong strategy for your organization. you will end up with undesired results. So how do we end up with a good distance education strategy? One, identify and align the institution's vision and mission and how they can be met by distance education programs. Perform a comprehensive needs analysis. Prioritize and select needs to be addressed. Identify solution requirements and alternative solutions. Select the solution. So I'll go through each of these one at a time, and hopefully by the end of those 5 items, you have a clear idea on how best to select the best distance education strategy for your organization as instructional designers. So the first one is identify and align the institution's vision and mission and how they can be met by distance education. So it's very critical that you know the strategic direction of your organization. If you don't know where your organization is headed, it's very hard for you to design an effective distance education program. Also, departmental goals, like mentioned earlier on, and programs should be aligned to your organization's mission and vision. Misalignment, bad results. So make sure those are well aligned. Departmental goals should lead to attainment of institutional objectives and assure that they are not only implementing solutions to unknown problems. Because if you know what the problem is after your analysis, there's a high chance you will implement the right solution. So this is very critical. Know what your organization wants to do, where they're going, and analyze or identify the needs of that organization based on the vision or their mission as a company. Also, set measurable standards on how to measure your achievements and know when you get there. Set goals that help you to know when you get there. Sometimes organizations implement solutions and they don't even realize they've achieved their goals because in the first place they did not set goals of how to know when they get there. Now the second one is perform a needs analysis. Perform a gap analysis between the desired accomplishments and current accomplishments of distance education. Use organizational elements model that uses mega, macro, micro, process, and input techniques for effective institutional planning. Now, mega planning, or the component of the mega approach, looks at how best to meet societal needs with your training program. Macro uh, looks at the client within the institution. How is your training going to meet your institution's learning needs? Micro looks at how teams within an institution benefit from your distance education program. And then process looks at improving organizational processes. For example, on your production line, how does your distance education improve processes on your production line? And then lastly on this is inputs. Focus on resources and assets is what inputs does. What resources do I have in my company to improve distance education? Or what assets do I have in my company or at my disposal as an instructional designer? Prioritize and select needs to be addressed is the third one. Use data collected previously during the needs analysis and use a participatory method to guide you and your stakeholders in prioritizing the needs to be addressed using tools like nominal group techniques, pairwise comparison, multi-criteria analysis, and scenario building. I invite you to look this up in your own free time. Perform a cost-benefit analysis for implementing your distance education program. Now, cost-benefit analysis is a systematic approach to estimating the strengths and weaknesses of alternatives that satisfy transactions, activities, or functional requirements for a business. Many stakeholders look at your cost-benefit analysis. So good cost-benefit analysis helps you win many of the stakeholders, especially those that will be sponsoring your projects or signing off that check to vendors or paying for the project. Identify solution requirements and alternative solutions. The key here is that multiple solutions help professionals focus on the goal. Knowing just one solution leads professionals to focus on just the solution, yet focus should be on the results, not the solution. Good solutions should meet 1. Time constraints, cost and resource constraints, accomplish necessary results, identify the pros and cons for each solution. Your cost-benefit analysis again might become very helpful here. So, very important. Make sure your cost-benefit analysis is playing into your pros and cons of each of your solutions. And then finally is select the solution. After all is said and done, work with your partners and select a solution. Test it, implement it, perform a post-evaluation, and move on. Avoid getting stuck in the decision-making jungle. I've seen many companies that get stuck in this state of inertia, so to speak. They have all these solutions and they're stuck. They don't know how to proceed. Just decide on one solution and go with it. It's worth to mention that initiatives are justified when strategic plans and needs assessments are completed. In my opinion, distance education solutions that are aligned to organizational goals are likely to meet organizational learning needs, get funding, and satisfy the learner's learning needs in distance education programs. Finally, in this presentation, we looked at the benefits of aligning distance education programs to the organization's mission and vision. We also looked at how to perform a needs analysis, prioritizing distance education needs, and selecting suitable solutions that will enable organizations meet their intended distance education learning goals. Thanks for listening, and I hope this was informative to you. Goodbye.